This is the world's first Claymation Mime podcast, and this episode, I guess, is about raising mime awareness, which is honestly a great episode title, so I'm not mad about it.
Eins, zwei, drei.
What was that?
Just counting to 3 in German, as one does.
As a podcast should traditionally be started. How are you today, Tanner?
I am delighted now that I'm talking to you. How are you?
That is so unusual. I'm also doing really well, and I love a good Sunday in the Clayverse.
We actually have our own calendar here in the Clayverse. We have 9 days in our week, but only 7 of them are holidays.
Speaking of us being in Clay, I just read our first review of the podcast in the Salt Lake Tribune. These two bimbos are single-handedly undoing centuries of human thought evolution. Not only are they completely brain dead, they're also incredibly destructive. I thought that was a bit unfair. I think that's going overboard.
I thought that was really generous of them. I honestly thought we had done worse, so I'm just glad we got away with it.
The fact that we've been able to undo centuries of human thought in just 2 episodes so far is really a testament to our brilliance when you actually think about it. That's a lot of work to do in 2 episodes.
Definitely. But I believe in this one, we'll be able to take it to the next level. We'll be able to wipe out a whole millennia of thought.
Fingers crossed.
No more thoughts at all. This is the year we get fully lobotomized, me and all the girlies.
Yeah, the first shadow banned Claymation podcast is getting their dream lobotomies this year. Speaking of our shadow ban, we've been talking about wanting to integrate our shadow ban.
Oh, that's so important to integrate your shadow ban.
What's the vibe there? Like, what's our plan?
We have to out shadow ban the shadow ban. We have to lean so far in to the shadow ban that we become the shadow ban itself.
Be the shadow ban you wish to embrace and thereby destroy.
Be the shadow ban you want to see in the world.
Wow, yeah. And you can shadow ban yourself harder than any platform can shadow ban you. That is something that's important to remember, because it is easy to feel disempowered when going through a grossly unjust shadow ban like we are right now.
Oh, yeah. And I think this is a perfect example of existential kink at its finest.
At its finest.
A lot of people just wait around hoping to get shadow banned, hoping that what they're doing is so meaningful that they have to be shadow banned. We're just beating them to the punch, and we're seizing the ban.
We are seizing the means of the shadow ban.
That was it. Thank you. You know, the reason they're fighting us so hard is because people were reporting outright miracles happening, right? During our live stream. Oh my goodness. I mean, it was like what you'd hope to see at an evangelical Pentecostal healing rally. What do they call those? A revival or church?
Yeah, no, exactly. People were healing left and right. We had one woman cancel her LASIK appointment on the spot. She could see perfectly.
Yep. We had one person come back from the dead, and he was like, why'd you do this? I was so happy on the other side. You Frenched me from the ether and imprisoned me in consciousness. I want to go back. That was kind of a mistake. We're not going to bring anyone back from the dead again, hopefully. We'll try to tone it down this one. We won't be so hasty to play God again.
We won't.
I take a walk through the cemetery all the time, and I'm just like, damn, this is just full of dead people who were once alive, who were just walking around and eating soup, and now they're just dead as shit in the ground. And if we brought them back, they'd have just no context, no idea of what was going on. Where would we house them all? I don't know. I don't know about that whole resurrection thing.
This cemetery that you've dropped us down in right now feels like the perfect place in the podcast to ask one of the main questions we really wanted to ask from the Clayverse today, which is, would you fuck someone with a Deathly Hallows tattoo? Tanner, I don't know that we've actually even shared our answers with each other, so I'd love to know.
A lot of people got enthusiastic tattoos when they were younger, and without knowing how the creator of those stories, which in hindsight were pretty whack, could go full turf.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be tough. Imagine having to separate the art from the artist when you have a Deathly Hallows tattoo. I mean, that just adds a whole level of urgency and pressure. Oof.
I just feel like it could so easily become a cool geometric tattoo. If anyone wants me to redesign your Deathly Hallows tattoo as a cool geometric one, just send me some money in Venmo.
Tanner, that could be your volunteer work for next year. You'll turn any Deathly Hallows tattoo into something cooler.
That's my charity.
That's activism, baby.
We'll turn it into a Claymation podcast tattoo for you. The Claymation podcast healed me of turfdom.
The world's first Claymation mental health podcast that is curing turfdom. You heard it here first, folks.
Don't let Justin Kenneth Rowling hear this, or what's her full name?
Yeah, I think Justine Kenneth Rowling sounds about right.
Kind of weird, that whole series, huh?
Yeah. Really liked it at the time, though. I just loved... Do you know what? Looking back, I think I just really loved the thought of communal living, because I always really resonated with books about boarding school or, being sent away. Oh, God, the dream of being sent away. It was alluring. The thought that I could be whisked away somewhere else.
With a firm but warm headmistress.
Yes, exactly, Tana. So warm, but seriously so firm. Doesn't take any bullshit. But she knows the rules, and the rules are always consistent, and the adults are being paid to look after me. Oh, what a dream. What a fucking dream. And also being secretly, rich in the wizarding world. I mean, that was pretty appealing.
Oh, definitely. And Harry was rich, though that never stopped him. It never, ever prevented him from watching helplessly as his friends struggled with the most absurd results of magical poverty.
I know. The number of times Ron, I'm sure this has been unpacked before, but it is insane. The number of times Ron...
I'm drawing this all from people who have commented on this. None of these thoughts are original.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and there are no original thoughts. Not coming out of my brain anyway.
And again, we are trying to end thought by the end of this episode. We want everyone walking out of here worse than a Taylor Swift concert. We don't want you remembering who you were before the Claycast.
Yeah, Amnesia even supposes there's a shred of memory even left of who you used to be. We don't even want that. Yeah, it's funny how much we're just supposed to kind of casually accept that in Harry Potter, the Weasleys are too proud to accept money from Harry. Ron would rather have a broken wand than have Harry buy him a new one because of, just capitalist ideas about pride. You shouldn't take charity.
Good old-fashioned muggle ethic. It's in a world where we can create anything, let's create scarcity.
I know. Give people a vision for a better world. Just the same thing.
The magic system there is a bit farcical, if you ask me, for a children's book. They should have gone over the metaphysics of magic a little better.
Speaking of farces, did you see that there was a ultramarathon runner that was banned for 12 months from ultramarathons because she used a car during a race?
Queen.
A Scottish woman as well.
She used a car?
I'm that's what I'd do, but isn't that the whole point? The satisfaction of not using a vehicle?
Yeah. Out of points for just doing what I would do in a situation, assuming that that's the best thing that ought to be done, I think she deserves the medal.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry she was...
too creative.
Smarter at finishing the... Yeah.
I love that her punishment for not actually running an ultramarathon, presumably because running ultramarathon sucks, is that she's not allowed to run ultramarathons. I think that's just beautiful. Also, speaking of races, contests, and other such ceremonies, we were going to start with an award ceremony.
Shit. Yes, we were.
I'm going to give myself the honesty award because I'm going to come right out and say I did not prepare any awards.
Were we supposed to prepare awards for each other?
That was the initial plan.
Ooh.
You could give me the most cutest natural blonde award.
Oh, good one, Tan.
If we're just cooking up ideas.
As two natural blondes, we obviously, blonde is on our mind a lot. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think you should have the cutest natural blonde award this week because of the way that you uphold the values of being a natural blonde so effortlessly.
Wow, thank you so much. This award was so unexpected. There were so many qualified people, and I truly never thought it was going to be me. I'm low-key embarrassed that I was chosen for this award, but thank you all the same, and I would like to thank, first of all, my agent, second of all, the god Vishnu, and thirdly, my loving wives, Dimitri and Cornelius. You've been the greatest loves of my life, and I couldn't have done any of this without you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was also going to say your mime activism has been off the charts lately.
Oh, thank you.
So I do feel like you deserve... What awards are there in the mime world for I'm just going to quickly Google mime awards.
You know, it's so important to do activism for those who can't speak for themselves.
Like, what's the highest honor a mime can receive?
The highest honor a mime can aspire to, I think, is Cirque du Soleil. Is that?
No, Tana, grow up. Okay, there is the World Mime Organization, and they do, in fact, every year give out an award for the best mime. The Special World Mime Organization Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Art of Mime.
Wow. Oh my God. They've got to be like the top tier secret society, like the real, like, they're all secrets all the way down.
Honestly, it seems like a boys' club. So it seems like in 2023, they gave it to, well, fair enough. They gave it to a mime that turned 100. Why am I so unsurprised that a mime turned 100? Like, that just feels right.
It's like Tai Chi.
Yeah, seriously. And then they're also celebrating the 125th birthday of Etienne Decroux. I'm like, okay, so are these people actually alive? Because I'm pretty sure a guy didn't turn 125. No, it's just been 125 years since the birth of a mime called Etienne Decroux.
That sounds like a great premise of a film I'd watch. Birth of a Mime.
So I don't think either of these people are alive. So these people, this organization is giving out the Mime of the Year award to dead mimes.
How do they know if they're dead? Are they doing home checks? Because if they're just calling to check in on them, they might not get an answer. Maybe they're just still doing their thing, miming away in the living room.
This is actually quite touching. The World Mime Organization says, in the history of mime, we see that the art of mime was thriving as long as one artist was popular, and with him or her dying, it seemed as though mime was dying too. The World Mime Organization aims to stop that effect and have mime in any form, media or space be present and prosper at all times. Respect without judging and competing for all forms, styles, techniques, teachings, schools, philosophies, and personalities of mime is crucial for the survival and development of mime and all its practitioners and lovers. Mime is possibly the first art of mankind. Wow. Mime is the language of all. This is just funny because this is what we've been joking about and sensing, but I'm like, the World Mime Organization does not hold back in terms of its perceived self-importance. Like, mime is the language of all. And it also says mime is the language of peace.
I am so done with philosophy of mind. Philosophy of mind is out. Philosophy of mime is in. I was today years old when I learned that there was a philosophy behind miming, and I cannot wait to dive further into it. Because whatever we've been doing for the last few millennia has not been it. Okay, gang? Whatever the mimes have going on, they're right. I don't think it's a perceived self-importance. I think this world is held together through the art of mimery. That's the hunch I have in my gut. And my gut's never wrong.
A mime's gut is never wrong.
That's the first rule you learn in the Philosopher's School of Mimes.
The mime condenses space and time to the essence of it. He can represent the universe in the small space of a few square feet. Right, it's not just he, though. I do think the World Mime Organization maybe needs to update some of its perspectives on gender.
I never have thought of a mime as having a gender.
No. Androgynous all the way.
I thought mimes were this sort of divine androgyne. But I'm glad to know that they recognize the mime as sort of an avatar of the universe at large and a messianic figure in that way.
This says there are 3 types of mime: Italian, French, and Oriental. Oriental mime also includes exciting gymnastic movements.
Whereas the Europeans just have less than exciting gymnastics movements.
I'm like, why are we bothering with the Italian and French mimes then? That's clearly inferior.
I guess I do cartwheels, which I think is the European mime. I don't think it's that exciting. If I could do like a back handspring, maybe I could be an Oriental mime. Did you ever play Pokemon? Were you ever into Pokemon? This will come back to mimes.
I used to collect the cards, but I don't think I ever really played with them. I just kind of had them in a laminated folder and felt good about myself. Why?
Yeah, I mean, they were just little status books that we could carry around and show people how much we as human beings were worth.
Yeah, which how nice, by the way. So easy back then.
My favorite Pokemon was Mr. Mime, and I was fully convinced as a child that he was not a Pokemon. He was just a mime, but he couldn't speak up. And so they were just capturing him and beating him and forcing him into like this like fight club thing that he didn't want to be a part of, and he just couldn't do anything because he couldn't speak. He's like obviously very humanoid.
Wow. I was going to say, I mean, if that wasn't you processing your own experience, I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly. In my quest to free the mime out there. I freed the mime inside. So now that me, with my divine integrated shadow band mime self, freed from the constraints of the glass boxes of society, I am now able to move around the glass box of my own make. And that's just miming, folks. That's the power of mimes. Mime over matter. This is why they're fighting us. This is why Joe Biden has raised funds to get the clay casts stripped from all platforms, is because of the power of miming that we are amplifying. Because once people discover the mime, things change.
Yeah, once you're able to transcend space and time the way a mime does, good luck getting you into the voting booth to vote for Joe Biden. That's all I'll say.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, good luck anyway. It seems like it's going to be very, very tough. Well, I learned that a mime follows principles that are at the heart of drama: pause, hesitation, wait, resistance, and surprise. That's so true. How often do we think about using pauses to add drama? Not enough, I don't think.
I know I never do that.
I find pauses terrifying.
Dramatic suspense. Why must you do this? Please. The void must be filled with anything.
When they do that final 10-second montage on Bake Off, that's a 3-hour nervous system recovery for me every time. That is so destabilizing.
It is honestly cruel how intense they make the Bake Off.
Yeah. It's worse because they're all so wholesome, you know?
Yeah, you want all of them to succeed because you love them so thoroughly. You get no satisfaction in anyone's demise.
Uh-huh. I'm looking at the general rules of mime, and it said the act should not contain any dialogue, lip-syncing, props, or music.
Whoa.
Oh, I think this is for a specific mime competition. This is so much more complex than we realized.
Oh, it's like a true minimalist performing style. It's like bare bones. What does your body language communicate?
Yeah. No act shall contain any offensive, obscene, disrespectful actions or gestures. It also says no mythology and or religious violence.
That's the code of the mimes. You're not allowed to make fun of religion or do anything offensive?
Apparently not.
Or otherwise the World Mime Organization won't honor your grave?
I looked up the most important techniques in miming, and one is clowning.
I thought, wait, what came first, the mime or the clown? Or are they just two different things?
Is every mime a clown, but not every clown a mime?
I think that's it. I think you nailed it.
How hard is it to become a mime? If you want to be a mime, you must be warned. It is no easy task. Mimes are highly trained professionals. We'll see about that. We'll see.
It's a competitive industry, and don't think you can just waltz in here into this little glass box and think you own the place.
And some of us simply are born with the mimesis inside of us, I think. Oh my God. The average annual pay for a mime in the United States is $108,000 a year. Tana, we are absolutely in the wrong industry.
Oh my God.
If we decided to do the financially smart thing and become mimes, we would make $108,000 a year, which would be a huge step up from what we are currently earning from this YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, to think we've been just spending half of our online presence begging for coins from people when we could be saying nothing at all and raking in an unfathomable, honestly, amount of money that by doing...
Just pulling wads of cash out of people's ears.
We wouldn't need props, so there's nothing you have to purchase. We would never have to worry about saying the wrong thing and getting canceled. I really, really hope we are just sliding down the YouTuber to mime pipeline.
I think we are.
The pipe mime.
The mime. This is the world's first Claymation mime podcast. And this episode, I guess, is about raising mime awareness, which is honestly a great episode title, so I'm not mad about it. Okay, this is also blowing my mind. This says, because someone Googled, do mimes talk in real life? Valid question. I hadn't even considered it. Just assumed, of course they do.
I thought, no way. Oath of silence forever.
This says, traditional mimes have been completely silent.
I'm telling you, they are our gurus. There are bodhisattvas. They're enlightened bizarro prophets. Divine clowns.
Wow. It's like putting themselves in solitary confinement, or I guess like one aspect of it. I don't know. I guess I don't need to make that comparison, but it does feel lonely to never talk ever.
They're just like living in oneness with the Tao.
But I guess they are able to express better than I can with language through their bodies. Why is no one ever talking about mimes? I would watch a YouTube video so fast on the history of mimes. It's distinguished from silent comedy. Okay, they do not like to be associated with silent comedians. Silent comedy isn't, I guess that's like Mr. Bean, isn't it? So Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean can't claim mime status.
Well, this mime in this picture is holding a prop, so, it seems like some people are a little flexy on the standards of mime.
Same.
Where do you fall on the fundamentalist to radical progressive mime line?
I think that people have been getting too lax and not adhering to the traditional principles of mime. I'm fully orthodox. Like, I would die for my craft.
You're of the classic Parisian school.
I'm radical. I'm extreme. I don't care who I hurt. If someone doesn't support my miming, I'll cut them off so fast, and then I'll send all of my guys to sue them. I've ruined lives because people spoke out about me as a mime, saying, oh, she doesn't have the training. She doesn't know anything about mime. Bullshit. Okay?
Honestly, when I heard Joe Rogan saying that we don't know shit about mimes, I about blew a gasket. I almost shattered the imaginary glass box I was in and stormed to his house personally to vent my frustration in various exaggerated motions and expressions. No words necessary, obviously.
Yep.
But I was very disappointed to hear him say that, because we are mimologists through and through, and we do our homework. We're literally looking at a picture of mime artists right now. Like, how much more research can you be?
Yep. We have gone through entire job interviews only using mime and got the job. Like, we do not need words. And I don't expect Joe Rogan to understand that. I think the moral of the story is some mimes don't need to be trained because it's in them, and that's us. But do I think we should take a mime class? I do.
Life is the greatest mime class as far as I'm concerned.
That's so true.
Where does mime and magic fall together? Because that's a little niche. Like, where does illusion and mimery? Where's the marriage there? I want to see it. I want to make it happen.
I mean, mimes ride solo, I'll tell you that. I don't think they believe in marriage, right? Can you get married as a mime? Should I Google that? Can mimes get married?
Again, I don't see them as sexual beings, really. Maybe they desire partnership on some level. I just think they are so ecstatic from the experience of living the mime style that they don't even need anything. I doubt they eat. They probably photosynthesize, for all I know.
I've got an incredible story for you. This is an article in the San Francisco Chronicle. The headline, oh no, they're going to make me buy a... They're going to make me buy a thing. Well, it was going to be really good because the title was When Two Mimes Had a Resounding Wedding in Union Square. And then the little text preview says, the mime marriage, however, was no fairy tale and the two divorced in 1986.
I just wanted that fairy tale mime wedding.
I've been dreaming about my mime wedding since I was a little girl.
Oh, the imaginary props and decorations. The antics.
As I've learned from in this Claycast, the most famous mime ever seems to be this Marcel Marceau guy who was born 100 years ago, who the World Mime Organization honored with an award this year. And apparently he was married 3 times.
Wow, he got around.
Yeah.
He must have been very popular. Like a person with body language like that.
Mm-hmm.
The power that a mime must wield, the gravitas that they command, just by the confidence of their body.
Well, not everyone feels that way, Tanner, because I just found a blog post from a woman called Leanne, and it's titled, The Wedding Was Great and Then the Mime Showed Up. Not sure why a mime would be at a wedding, but do you want to hear the story?
I certainly do. I believe it was Vonnegut who said, the premise of every good story is the same. A mime rides into town. So this kind of seems like one of those situations.
Yeah, it's a classic mime riding into town situation.
On an imaginary horse.
So fast, so unbelievably fast, you don't expect it.
You really think it's a horse. You're like, what the fuck?
Speak it into being, Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Mime it into being.
Do not speak anything.
Do not speak. I cannot stress this enough.
First rule of Mime Club.
Okay, this says, a woman dressed in black and white, wearing white face, suddenly appeared at the reception hall. This is a real thing that happened to someone, by the way. This is like someone's blog. And by appeared, I don't mean out of thin air. I mean, she just showed up. That definitely could mean out of thin air. I mean, we don't know. We don't know how advanced this mime is.
We have no idea what the mystical powers of the mimes. Like, there are tales of various gurus of India being able to teleport and things like that. And I think a mime is certainly up there as far as that type of transcendence and ability to manipulate time, space, matter, you know?
I could not agree more. Although she seemed terribly out of place, she didn't act lost. Wow, if that isn't the most profound statement about being a mime. She seemed terribly out of place, but she didn't act lost. Oh.
Not all who are terribly out of place are lost. I'm getting that tattooed on my shoulder.
My husband and I were alarmed, but everyone around us seemed pretty cool with it. Like a mime at a wedding reception was as normal as having a preacher, a DJ, and an argument.
Is that where mimes, is that where they get their business, weddings? Because anything wedding related, I feel like is good business. And that would check out if mimes are just like showing up at weddings hoping to get tips or something.
I mean, yeah, how else do they make, where's that $108,000 a year coming from? How much of it is weddings? And do they feel like they're sort of lowering themselves when they do weddings? Or is that a dream gig? I don't know.
What would your dream mime gig be?
Dream mime gig?
Yeah.
The Guggenheim. It's just me, and the entire thing is one giant glass box. I do not speak. This is the twist. I do not move. I do not perform. The absence of a performance is my performance. It's called the inverted mime. It's pretty powerful and coming up. What about you?
I have a routine where it's me and I'm essentially a hamster moving through one of those hamster homes and drinking from a hamster bottle.
Always wanted to drink from one of those.
And licking the salt lick. But I would like to be an audience of one, and that will be performed for the mayor of Luxembourg.
You would do great in Luxembourg. I've always thought that.
Thank you. I know nothing about Luxembourg. It's just the word that popped into my mind.
I know that the capital of Luxembourg is Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
That's one fact I remember about Luxembourg from geography class.
Ugh, I just feel like the place lacks a certain je ne sais quoi.
Don't they speak French in Luxembourg? We need to move on. So back to the mime at the wedding.
Yeah, yes.
And just this blog, it seems like this blog is written by a comedian, which is going to become relevant.
Oh, there is a comedian-mime rivalry, isn't there? This is a feud going back centuries. And they've been at each other's throats like Catholics and Protestants.
Exactly. She said, we stand-up comics and mimes don't have a happy history. She said, on the entertainment totem pole, comics are one step above mimes. I could not agree less. A comic is a poor man's mime.
Yeah, that is absolutely rude. Imagine being able to do what a comedian does without actually saying anything. You fool.
Anyone can be a hilarious comedian on any given week on their Claymation podcast, is what I keep telling myself.
We should do a mime cast that's 50 minutes of miming. Audible only.
So comics are one step above mimes on the totem pole. That one measly rung allows us to feel superior. We look down on mimes with contempt and scorn. We mock them at every opportunity, and yet we are secretly grateful, for they are the cushion that saves us from being on the absolute bottom. This is such a fucking classic example of like, the last shall be first, the first shall be last. Mm-hmm. When the Son of Man came, he came as a poor guy in a manger. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's missing something here. She's basically saying, well, we're superior to mimes in human status games of success. But she's delusional. She's deluding herself into thinking that.
Yeah, no. I don't know a comedian making $100,000 a year, first of all. So if you're just going to be like, oh, mimes don't make as much money as comedians do, because they prefer a purer art form, the purest art form, in fact. I think she needs to integrate her shadow band side. That's all I'm saying.
Really well said. Really well said. She said, it turns out, however, that we were grossly mistaken. This lady wasn't a mime. She was a praise dancer who performed an interpretive dance to gospel music in whiteface.
Oh.
Damn it. So there was no mime. We've been lured into reading a blog post that wasn't even about a mime.
This is one of the biggest problems with mime activism, is just misleading stuff that is putting out like total misinformation about who mimes even are, getting people excited about the art of miming only to disappoint them with irrelevant types of performers. It just never ends.
It never ends.
And we all mime on.
Me or my mom.
Mimi my mamu.
My.
Wow, I have learned more about mimes today than I ever thought I would know in this.
Life, and that's one of the reasons why life continues to delight and inspire me. So full of awe with all the delightful mime facts out there. It's such a journey, isn't it?
Such a journey. Through time and space, yet we've only traveled 2 feet. How do we do it?
One small step for Clay.
One small step back. In the same 1 square foot square.
I'm doing the foxtrot, baby. Anything new and fun and exciting going on in your life? Well, I have one.
Please start.
Well, thanks to our generous patronage and matronage and gaytronage, I have been able to have a phone update. You are talking to the owner of an iPhone 15 Pro.
Really proud of you. Really proud of you.
It's actually cheaper than whatever I was just doing. And it was time for an update.
I know.
Also, I'm going to call bullshit on the iPhone having a pro camera, like being a pro thing. It is just not a pro camera.
Really? I just went from the iPhone 13 to the 15 and I feel like the camera quality is massively improved.
It's still not pro by any stretch.
Could be proer. Okay.
And, that's just me being an entitled young child who's grown up with just having access to these wizarding devices that would have blown the mind of any alchemist. That would just be like, oh, the Philosopher's Stone, you have it. And I'm like, the camera's actually not good enough for me. I only paid $30 a month for this.
How's your search for a new duvet cover going, by the way? I know that's been taking up quite a lot of your mental load lately.
My whole room, to be honest, is just, I've had the same thing going for a long time, and it's just time for new, cutting out the old, bringing in the new. So I cut out the old, but have not brought in all the new yet. And so it's getting there.
That's tough. Like just that phase, which can really be applied to just anything in life where you're cleaning out your closet and it just has to get so horrifically bad before it gets better because you have to pull everything out. And then you lose steam 45 minutes into the task. You've got 6 hours left before it's a livable space again. Mm-hmm. This is why I don't like to start projects that take any significant amount of time, because I'm like, I have got 45 minutes of drive and then I'm fucked. I cannot commit to anything beyond that.
That's just too much. I am too toxic for this.
I'm so much fun.
This is how my toxic moment of the week. This iPhone was my 3rd device in a row where upon reception, I put it away because I was like, I need to buy a case for it so I don't scratch it. So I'm just going to leave it in the box until I have a case for it. And then while trying to put the case on, have irreparably scratched the surface.
No!
3rd device in a row. I have not learned. I am an imbecile.
No! Are you joking? Why do you have such slippery hands? That's so upsetting. I'm so sorry.
Yep. That's what I'm doing with. That's what I'm working with. So yeah, I'm trying to buy some bedding, trying to buy a rug. I need to buy some pants, but it's so hard to buy pants that fit me. Do you ever just have like a weird body that doesn't have clothes that fit it very often?
Yeah, definitely. And it's basically impossible for me to thrift pants. Like I just can't. That's something I have to spend on, to be honest. But you know what? I recently got 2 new pairs of jeans. I had no jeans that really fit me or looked good. And I was able to get 2 pairs of jeans from Abercrombie & Fitch for free on my credit card points. And that was very exciting.
Wow, Abercrombie, bringing Abercrombie back. It is 2000s core. We're back, baby.
I know. You can't tell that they're Abercrombie, though.
No, I feel you. I had some pants from American Eagle that have held up forever.
Honestly, these Abercrombie jeans I have are just as good as Levi's, and they also have multiple options for length that's like regular, long, extra long, which is so nice because I'm too tall for regular girls' jeans usually, but not tall enough for like the tall ranges. So I always just feel like I'm in this weird place where I've just never have jeans that go all the way to, my feet. And it's very luxurious. Like, it's amazing how much more put together I feel now that my jeans are the right length.
Hell yeah. And also, oh no, did we just do free advertising for Abercrombie and Fitch?
Shit, we've accidentally advertised Abercrombie and Fitch again.
Again. This is the 40th time this episode.
This always happens to us. Well, I guess while we're on the topic of how we look, a significant thing that happened to me this week is my friend asked me to come. She's a hairstylist and she works with this wedding dress company to do social media stuff. And she asked me to model for her for this bridal mini shoot thing. And she did a French bouffant in my hair that, I'm not kidding, is the best I have ever looked or will ever look. It was frightening how good I looked in this bouffant combined with the wedding dress. I was able to take the best pictures of me that have ever been taken. It was a 3-day come down from the high that was looking that good. And that's it. I guess I'm just moving on with my regular life now as a normal looking person. But
how's the dopamine re-up after that? That sounds harsh, brah.
it has, yeah, as I said, 3 days. It's been a journey for sure. I've never got so much online validation and attention, which was amazing. But then I also I feel like I'm just to the age where you really can tell how everything is just a dopamine roller coaster constantly. So even as I posted these pictures and they were blowing up on Instagram in a way that nothing I ever do would normally blow up, just constant attention, validation, compliments. Even as it was happening, I was like, I can feel that this is like dysregulating though, and I almost don't like it. Like it's like an intense feeling, which sounds so like silly and funny. But I just feel like the older I get, the more everything. You could just see how it's the dopamine roller coaster. And I knew there would be a come down. And then I had like anxiety the next day that was like kind of inexplicable. I was scared of how good I looked in the bouffant.
Do not post your bouffants online. This is what Girl Define tried to warn us about. Then you get this high that no primate should ever have to experience with our little monkey brains. Only to come down for a fall worse than MDMA. You're just like crashing so much. For what? To live to bouffant another day? Hopefully, yes. I think if you're balancing it out with your miming, that will help, regulate. What regulates the nervous system more than miming? I start every day breaking my way out of a glass box I've created for myself.
That I've slept in, curled up in a ball, 40 days, 40 nights above the London Eye, just like David Blaine.
In my magic box, I am safe, I am strong, I am held, I am nurtured, I'm loved.
I am held by my glass box, I am nurtured by my glass box.
Nothing can hurt me when I'm inside the box. Are you going into your box again? Talk to me. In my mind, I can't do that. You're always retreating to your box.
But yeah, I really think the Buddhists are onto something with the sort of, just the pursuit of kind of keeping things in life more balanced and just even being wary of how especially exciting experiences, like a good French bouffant, yielding a bunch of online attention, how even those, they have their downsides. Like what goes up must come down. And which is something a mime knows better than anyone, because climbing and falling, I learned, is one of the key techniques a mime needs to master. Mm-hmm. It's all about the climb, but then it is equally all about the fall.
It's like a Mimely Cyrus lyric.
Are we going too far?
No, I don't think we're going far enough.
I don't think we're going far enough.
Well, to emphasize your point, I think you're basically articulating Epicurian philosophy.
A simple Epicurian philosophy.
Who also, by the way, was about creative communal living. And he was like, to seek for happiness, pleasure, and stimulation 100% of the time, you will end up feeling bad most of the time. So you got to shoot for like a 70% kind of happy.
Yeah, it's so true. This is why like discipline and, things like working out that are like hard and annoying really are such a gift. Me and Jared both felt it after Thanksgiving. When you've just like indulged a lot for 2 days in like food, potentially substances,
miming,
a lot of social time. It's just like high. And then this was also around the same time as the bouffant. So you can only imagine the neurochemical like hurricane happening in my brain.
This is basically crank for content creators.
It's basically crank, yeah. Then like the day after, was it the day after Thanksgiving? Yeah, we both just, when you have that feeling of like, it's kind of boredom and it's kind of depression in a traditional sense, in that like nothing is exciting you. You don't feel drawn to do anything. Everything just sounds like boring. Like you don't have dopamine. You're depleted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So I guess that is a lesson to keep your indulgence in check, because that's how you can keep enjoying indulgence more.
Well, I'm going to keep indulging and see whenever I'll let me know when it's time to turn around.
It'll let you.
It was funny that we were talking about clothes and the awkwardness of purchasing clothes. Like I said, I just kind of have a weird body shape and I'm small, and growing up especially was difficult because I filled out a little bit. But in like high school, it was so hard to find clothes. And one day I was like, I got nominated for a winter formal royalty. Ha 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 ha. That was it. Could
Ice King?
It could have been a joke. Yeah, the Ice King. They still call me that now, but for different reasons due to my frosted tips.
Natural.
Natural, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a naturally frosted tipped blonde.
And you've always been that.
So I had to get a shirt, like a nice shirt, because I didn't have just like a nice shirt that wasn't white. So I went to like JCPenney with my mom, and we're walking around and like can't find anything because nothing fits me. Then I hear my mom say to somebody, she goes, "Excuse me, is there like a section that's like not quite man size, but not little boy size either?" And I was like, "Oh my God, mother." I'm like a teenager. Like, I was like, "Oh, I want to die. Like, I just want to yeet myself into the sun in this moment." And then I hear, "You mean like Tanner sized?" And it was a kid from school who was working there. And I was so embarrassed.
Aww.
But I did find a shirt, and I did look nice, and I did leave the dance early because everyone was inappropriately grinding to rap music.
Aww. I'm glad that you left early. The Ice King always leaves early. Also, I feel like we have the exact same experience in the story you just described, except mine was the opposite, because by 12 years old, I was having to buy like adult clothes because I don't remember when I hit like my current height, which is technically 5'8" 3/4, but I was just so much taller and fatter than everyone around me of my age from about 7 to about 16. So I was always having to be like traipsing around these grown-up sections of clothes with my mum because there was a point where like teen clothes didn't fit me. Really a bummer. So I feel like we're very yin and yang in that sense. Like we have both sides of the trauma.
Wow. We really span the whole spectrum here.
We do.
Can anyone relate?
Whomst can relate. Small people, big people, weigh in. Medium people, not interested in hearing about your stories. I've been realizing lately that I never really get any good clothes because I'm bad at thrifting and I don't go shopping and it's expensive. You know, basically I don't buy new clothes that often. And all the clothes that I have, it's kind of like with everyone where you, in theory, it looks like you have kind of a decent amount of clothes or even a lot, depending on how you look at it. But I've just realized that all my clothes are like stoner kidcore because that's kind of been me for the last few years. And I'm kind of now that I'm 31 and, you just enter new seasons, I just want to look a bit more I want to be able to go out in a nice outfit, not just like not like a stoner kidcore outfit all the time, but I just don't have anything like that. But I can't remember where I was going with the story or if I even had a point, but I've just been realizing how much the way you dress, really an obvious point, but it really does affect your mindset and self-perception and what you feel capable of. And you really can kind of have a decent amount of control over your experience of life each day by using dress or fashion, if you want to call it that, as a tool, because everything is self-perception.
Unless you're at the boarding school in your little uniforms.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's another thing. I didn't really grow up seeing fashion very creatively because it's like you just wear your own clothes on the weekends growing up in England. And I don't know, you don't really have that many clothes, I guess. I guess I don't really have a conclusion. I've just been trying to force myself to go thrifting, and I'm hoping to just manifest my dream wardrobe this winter, spending close to $0. Back to you.
I think you can do it. I'm not... Oh my God, I almost said the Office line. I'm not very superstitious, but when it comes to thrifting, my skepticism goes on the shelf. I'm able to check it at the door and just like give myself to the universe and trust that I will gravitate toward the thing that I need. And honestly, most of the time it works.
I know what you mean. I feel like I'm gonna sound Gwyneth Paltrow adjacent when I say this, but I really think thrifting can be a spiritual practice on some level, because you have like these specific things you might want, but you have to almost hold them loosely and then suspend your attachment to the outcome and just be willing to go in with curiosity and openness. And for me, thrifting is a mind game, because I just, as soon as I get into any store, I just want to be out of there. So to like go through and allow myself to imagine different realities where I own this piece of clothing. This sounds so over the top, but I think my mindset is like shifting around. Maybe in the past I would just pick clothes and be like, that's good enough. And now I'm like, no, it really is fun to try and find clothes that speak to you a bit more. And it's obviously it's still like, it's vanity, and it is maybe on some level insignificant, but then also not, because it does impact how you see yourself. And you are telling a story about who you are through the way you present physically. And as someone who cannot yet do a bouffant on themselves, this is kind of where I'm at.
Well, I've been noticing my wardrobe all becoming black.
I've been wanting to wear more black lately.
And I guess I'm just dressing for the job I want, and I'm slowly turning into mimecore. I think that's it.
And where do you land on stripes?
Oh, I wear some stripes. Some black and white is very mimey, and I've got that down.
I'm definitely a fan of like the traditional black and white stripe mime, presumably one-piece jumpsuit.
Oh, yes.
I think a mime should only wear one single piece of clothing, and it should be that jumpsuit.
If at all.
If that.
Wow, we really have been mimes all along. It's amazing how this Claycast is such a, mirror to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, wow, the mime was in me all along. That's actually the third time I've said that before.
And I was in the glass box all along. I'm so curious to hear people who listen, like their experiences about mimes. Like, has anyone been a mime, known a mime? I want to hear it all. I feel like this is a realm of life that is just speaking to me that I'm ready to plunge deeper into. And we need to do a documentary search to see if there's anything worth watching.
I mean, we are, of course, as allies to the mime community, the most powerful voices on behalf of the mime kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Even though the mime community generally does not accept us because of how much we speak. With some of the mimes in the community saying we speak even more than a regular person should speak. It's even beyond miming. They're just insulting the amount we speak generally at this point. So that's kind of something we're up against. But
yeah, well, they also realize that, it's a two-way street. Every mime needs its countermouth, its literary foil, and audience that will cheer for them, because they can't cheer for themselves.
No.
So they need us just as much as we need them.
That's another reason they don't like us. They say we're always cheering for ourselves too much.
What us? No, it's the whole world that's been cheering for us.
Exactly. I'm not a separate self.
The unprecedented success of the Claymation podcast has just been indisputable. No other podcast has ever done a thing like this. And it's not for us to write that in the history books. It's the way that God wrote the Bible, just breathed it into existence. And that's just reality now. And that's what's happened with the Claycast. And mimes, above everyone, should know that.
Mimes are a great thing to be dialing in on, because not a lot of people are doing it.
No, not a lot of people are doing mimes. They're not talking about mimes, because mimes just notoriously aren't spreading their own good word.
So true.
When you don't need anything, you have everything. And when the right student is ready, the mime master will appear. I just feel so spiritually nourished by the existence of mimes.
Me too. I would love to interview a traditional wordless mime on the channel.
just 50 minutes of asking questions, holding the mic, no answer.
Of like eyebrow raising. Or we're silent too, it's just see what happens. I bet there would be tears though.
We would get to a place. Let's do a little skit where we have like an intense moment with a mime.
Yeah, this is not the last you'll be hearing from us on mimes.
Let's do a mime video.
Ooh, it would be cool. A tattoo of yourself as a mime. Black and white striped, holding a finger up to your lips. Shh. That actually would be a good tattoo for me. Nice little reminder throughout the day. Shh.
Would you fuck someone with a mime tattoo? Tramp stamp.
Yeah, I think I would fuck someone with a mime tattoo, confidently.
Do mimes take a vow of celibacy?
I was wondering about the celibacy, and I was about to Google it, but I actually imagine surely it would be a crime for mimes to be celibate because they are the most in tune with their body. So I would hate to imagine a celibate mime. I mean, how could they get by? Unless it's just all put into the miming.
You thought Beatles mania was bad. Mime mania? That's why they have to build those boxes so that people can't get in there to sex on them. You have to set those powerful magic boundaries with the external world. This is what these mime mystics have taught us.
So much talk about boundaries these days, but no one's bringing up glass boxes, which I just think is interesting and a bit suspicious. Like, fuck off. A glass box is the ultimate boundary. Yeah, any boundary that's not a glass box is a cheap imitation of a boundary. Should we get glass box tattoos?
We should. There is no box.
Beautiful. Well, is this where we end for the day?
Yes, I think rather than saying goodbye in our traditional manner, we should simply wave like mimes do.
Do mimes wave?
It's like acknowledging a world outside of the glass box, which I shan't do.
That feels almost verbal.
The fifth wall is the glass box of the mime, which encompasses everything, is everywhere and nowhere at once, omnipresent and omnipotent. Thank God for mimes.
Yeah, God bless all the mimes out there. Thank you for what you do.
And may he bless you on the war to rid the world of stand-up comedians until mimes rule the world in silence.
Dao De Ching, the best leaders rule in silence.
Yeah, that's what the Tao is always saying, right?
Isn't the Dao De Ching basically just describing a mime at all times? Let's get real here.
The original mime, the Oriental mime, I'm sure.
The Oriental mime, of course, backflips. All right.
Well, it has been such a pleasure learning about mimes.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. If there's anything you want us to dive into in future episodes of the Claycast, as you can tell, well, we don't have any standards whatsoever. So if you want us to talk about it, there's a chance we could really become hyperfixated on it and talk about it.
We love hearing about what miracles the Claycast caused in your life, the way that you have radically changed for the better or for the worse. We'd love to hear it. We say we would that thou wert hot or cold. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah, don't stop sharing your testimonies. We'd also love it if you would help us reach our dream annual salaries of $108,008 a year. We're a little bit far off, but I think with your help on Patreon, you know, anything is technically possible. Please support the Claycast and us as leaders of the mime world, which we are currently disgraced from.
Yeah, we broke our oaths again.
Disgraced spokespeople, yep. We broke every oath. But when you know the oaths, you can break those. Okay, thank you all for being here. We love you.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
You waving, yeah?